This video is about how the Old Suffolk and East Anglian way of speaking ended up influencing the way that Australians speak today. And this dates back hundreds of years, and I will explain some of the reasons why and when people from Suffolk and East Anglia went over to Australia and how the influence of how they speak was connected to us and our old way of speaking here. First of all, there was the convict transportation era, and that went from 1788 to the 1840s. That's when a lot of convicts were sent from here in Suffolk and East Anglia and other places. They were sent to New South Wales, so that a colony of convicts were transported a long way. And the thing is, when we talk about convicts, you've got to remember that in those times, a lot of people had very harsh sentences put on their crimes which were often very simple, like, for example, poaching. If you were hungry and you were trying to feed your family and you poached a rabbit, the consequence of that could be that you would be sent to Australia for your crime. And even down to picking up sticks and branches on private land that you might want to use to keep your house warm and keep your family warm, that was also an offence back then. So when people talk about the convicts that went to Australia, yes, some of them had committed some very terrible crimes, but a lot of those people were also convicted of crimes which they committed simply because they were either very hungry or they were trying to keep warm. It was bad back then, and there was things in place like the Enclosure Act, where public land, which these people once worked on, farmed on, gathered their food from, or their firewood, it all became private land. So what were these people to do to try and survive? And some of them, sadly, were convicted of these crimes, and that's how they ended up in New South Wales in Australia. And it's those early influences of our old way of speaking that went over to Australia